It's Today in Putnam County with Shan Stout.
Hi everyone, welcome to Today in Putnam County. I'm Shan Stout and I will be your host today. And I'd like to introduce our first guest. And the good news is if this podcast falls off the rails, emergency management can get us right back on track. Because I have the Director of Emergency Management, Brandon Smith, and the Director of Education?
Safety,
okay. And that is Derrick Woolbright. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, we're happy that you're here. And for our viewing and listening audience, let's just be clear. I have the most confidence in our emergency management than I have ever had across all the emergency management in Tennessee. I formerly have a background in healthcare, so I have dealt with different levels of from disaster preparedness committees and task force, emergency management, role-playing situations, and all of those things. And to know that I live in a place that has the best of the best of the best is very comforting to me. Now, some of the people listening today to the show are going, I'm not real sure. Like you have a tiny idea, a grasp of what emergency management does. But I have found out from knowing you guys personally that it's very in-depth. So, Brandon, in a nutshell, give us kind of an overview of the day in the life of emergency management.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. We are very blessed. We're blessed with a county commission and a mayor that supports us. We are blessed with a history of good leadership in emergency management. Tyler Smith, Sharon Womack. Before that, when it was civil defense, Tyler's dad, Sam Smith. So we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we fully understand that and appreciate that. And I would say I feel like we are very well prepared. We certainly always find new things that we want to do better, or more gooder, as I like to say. But the thing for emergency management, it's a worldwide conversation of how do you tell people what emergency management is? How do you tell people what our job is? And so the best description I can come up with is that our job is to coordinate an all hazards response for a whole community response to any disaster or incident that could affect us. So when we talk about whole community, that involves not only the public safety sector, but all of the different government aspects, your public works departments, your water, your roads, your TDOT, and all those different agencies that work to serve the public every day, but also the churches, the volunteer organizations, the American Red Cross, the Civil Air Patrol, just all of the people that we work with who are going to respond to an incident. Our job is to get them all to the table, to get them involved in the planning so that they're ready for our worst day to help us solve those problems, no matter what the impact may be.
Okay, so you've unpacked a lot there. Let's talk about how many people are on your team and the different roles that they play. Because I've seen this team in action, and they all know their role, and they do it very, very well.
Well, thank you. We're blessed. We now, as of today, Derrick's first day actually with us today.
Welcome to the team.
We don't even have his uniforms in yet, but we thought, hey, what better way to welcome you to Putnam County than throw you out to everybody, put you on camera in a podcast right out of the gate.
And I'm too new to argue.
Yeah, he's not afraid though. He ain't afraid of the camera. So with Derrick coming on board, our staff now sits at 5. Myself as the director, Tyler Smith is our deputy director, then Derrick overseeing the education safety side of the house. We have Philip Bynum, who's our planning and operations chief, Davis Roberts, who is a shared position with 911, who does geographical information systems mapping, and then Sharon Womack, who is our operations support assistant. She's really the one that runs the show. The rest of us just show up and do what we're told. That's how it actually goes.
Bow to the queen.
That's right.
Well, Derrick, welcome to Emergency Management. I am so glad to meet you. And we're going to talk in the second half of the show a little bit more about your role. So we're going to come back. You were talking about how Davis does mapping. Now, I know on the tourism side of things, you would really think there's not a strong overlap with emergency management and tourism. But we actually have a very strong connection where we're working closely together very often. And, for our listening and viewing audience, we handle some major events. And with major events can come potential disaster.
Sure.
You can have health emergencies. You can have natural disaster emergencies. You can have flooding. You can have storms. You can have
All the
accidents.
things.
Anything can go wrong. And we hope always with any event that nothing goes wrong. That is always the plan, but your job is to hope for the best, but always be preparing for the worst. And I have enjoyed watching the process behind the scenes, because you're not just doing these large maps, but these maps are your safety protocols all laid out. It is almost like a military plan.
It's very paramilitaristic, the way it's laid out.
It's impressive. So let's talk about that process behind the scenes, because people who come to our festivals, our events, and anywhere that there's a mass populace of people that are going to attend, you guys have a safety plan in place.
Yeah. So we're very blessed in Putnam County, and you and I have talked about this several times, that everybody just works together. Like in the county government, we all just get along, we all work together, we help solve each other's problems. And so there is a lot of overlap in things you wouldn't normally think of. Well, Davis being our GIS specialist in the county, it's easy for him to help with like the waterfalls for all or the community events or those other things, because he's already in the system. Everybody knows him, he knows everybody. So we're very blessed in that regard, that everybody just works together well. For those event plans, we have been in the event space, and again, that is an all agencies, all hands on deck plan that most folks don't really understand. You almost want people to view that as the man behind the curtain, kind of like the Wizard of Oz.
And it truly is.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you don't know. I was not aware. I knew that, there's going to be paramedics on site at a major festival. There's going to be possibly an ambulance, things like that. Didn't know. I mean, you've got people in place almost in secret. Like you don't know that they're there guarding and protecting the public.
Yeah. And you see some of those pieces, right? As you're walking through the Fall Fun Fest, or you're walking through the fair, or one of those bigger events, you see a police officer or two over here. You see a firefighter or two over there. You walk past an EMS crew. You may see somebody from EMA walking through. You see the event directors. They are a huge part of our event safety, and we are truly blessed with great event directors that handle our events here in Putnam County. And so we work in one accord. It's kind of like that mesh laying over that event, and you don't recognize when you see that police officer. They're tied into that greater plan, and everybody's talking to each other. Everybody's working from the same sheet of music, literally from the same page, and has helped plan that event and helps execute that event as safely as possible.
Well, let's give an example. Okay. Let's take the Chuck Wagon Festival, because that's potentially an event that is sprawled out and not as contained as we would like. Right. It's not like Fall Fun Fest where you can barricade the square and close the streets.
Well, and it's a little ways out of town. It's away from resources too.
Yes, it's so you're having to bring things in. You're going to have to set it up from scratch. And so when we say mapping, the map fills an entire table. I mean, this is not a tiny little map. This is a large map, and actively you are laying out the lines for safety, looking at the potential weak spots in that map and saying, how can we make this safer, better, more prepared? And when you have something like acres and acres of land where people are going to be sprawled out, you have to say, what if an event happens here where somebody has heat stroke or somebody, has some sort of episode? How do we get them help? How do we keep everyone safe? And, there's always a chance of, someone doing something into mischief, getting into trouble of some kind. So what do those conversations look like? Because you oftentimes get all of the people involved on the safety and health aspect in one room. Right. And you guys are talking through these scenarios.
Yeah, it all starts with the event director and the venue owner, and you picked a perfect one. Eddie and Frida Gaw, just as good of people as you're ever going to find. So they're really fun to work with. They're easy to work with. Any excuse to go hang out at the Lazy G Ranch, we're always up for that too. Sit on the front porch in a rocking chair. But it really starts with them. It starts with them being open, the event director, the venue owner being open to, okay, I see what could potentially happen here. let's have those discussions. If they're not open to that, it makes it really difficult. With the Gall family, it's even easier because any suggestion we make, we say, hey, what if we move this over here? It would make it safer if it wasn't near the kid zone. Or can we change can we add some gravel over here? Add a fence was one of the things we wanted to do. They're just all in. Just whatever needs to happen, you tell us what we need to do and we'll make that happen. That's certainly that first step, is doing that risk assessment. And Derrick's spending a lot of time in the risk assessment world for schools and the university now, where you just sit down and think, what are all the things that could possibly go wrong? And then how could we potentially mitigate those impacts, prevent them or mitigate them? And as we do that, we start plotting those things on the map. And then we say, okay, well, if we have a medical emergency, where do our medical crews need to be? How are we going to access those patients? Is it by a four-wheeler? Is it UTV? Is it in a vehicle? Will the ambulance get back there? What if we have a brush fire? What if something catches on fire in the food trucks? And you just go down the list, and it can be quite frightening for first-time event directors. I specifically remember one, Farron Kefauver, the first time we did Fall Fun Fest. She sat there with her eyes bugged out. I'm pretty sure we sent her to therapy after that. Yeah, it was a long conversation, but after the fact, just if you truly understand what could happen at the event, the sense of peace to understand that everybody's working on your behalf to try to make those events as safe and as fun as possible. It's that whole community approach.
Well, I have been wildly impressed with your team.
Well, thank you.
And I'm going to take, we're getting ready to go to a break, so I'm going to take a moment to really brag on the first impression that I had of our emergency management when I got to know you guys really personally. And
before that, you thought we were idiots. Right? We all agree on that.
Just regular, Brandon. I just thought, I felt good about it, but I just really didn't know what all was going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
And first off, you took me to what I call the Bat Cave now, and that is your Emergency Operations Center.
Yep.
So that is the command center. So recently, I got to participate in that emergency operations where we were potentially going to have bad storms. So if you guys remember just a little while back, it looked like it was going to be dicey weather. We don't know what's happening. Well, let me tell you, the Emergency Operations Center, when they deem it is time for an emergency and they give thumbs up that it's, all hands on deck, they're in that center, and you guys were there all night long. I mean, you are watching and monitoring the whole situation, making sure that the shelters have been connected, that they will be ready to go live when someone needs them. The convention center, making sure that they will be, available, and that's another place that if something happens, you can use this facility. And all of the community assets and volunteers that are on red alert while that is happening was outstanding to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It really, really is, and it's a very well-oiled machine. It's not fractured, and I've been in communities before where I saw where they were like, we can't get a hold of so-and-so, and I don't know what we're going to do, and it would be so last minute. Sure. By the time the disaster had come and you needed help, you had not pre-prepared. You guys are never in that boat that I'm saying. You're always way ahead of the curve, preparing for if this escalates, here's what we're going to do. And that, I'm telling you, as a Putnam County resident, I want you to know this should make you feel very, very solid in the place that we live. It is the tightest sailed ship I've ever seen.
Well, thank you.
And it makes me feel good that if something can be done, you guys are on top of it. And when we come back, Derrick is going to talk about education safety, and we're going to hear all about his new role. You'll get to meet him, and then we're going to wrap up with a great story. So don't go away. You are listening to Today in Putnam County.
We're back with Today in Putnam County with Shan Stout.
Welcome back. You're listening to Today in Putnam County. And for those of you that are just now joining us, we are here talking to EMA Director Brandon Smith and Director of Safety Education Safety. I'll get it right eventually. By the time this interview is over, Derrick Woolbright is with us. And we've been talking about the wonderful team in emergency management. what all you guys do to keep us safe in the public and behind the scenes, in disasters, storm, natural disasters, and any sort of emergency related things, and how you're keeping us safe on the tourism side through festivals and events and those emergency preparedness plans. We appreciate all of that. So now we're going to talk about education safety. Derrick, you are new to your role. Welcome to emergency management.
Brand new, thank you.
And to the county.
Yes.
We appreciate you joining us.
I'm excited to be here.
And you basically got voluntold today.
It was placed on my calendar.
Well, I'm so glad you agreed to come on the podcast. So give me an overview. What is your role as education safety?
Brand new role, very exciting. I think it's going to be great for the people of the Putnam County, the educators, the students. And my job is to basically assist our Putnam County schools and the great people at Tennessee Tech University in preparing to manage those emergencies that may pop up day to day. Just like we talked about on the event side of it in the last segment, you kind of have to sit there and brainstorm of, unfortunately, what are the worst things, what can go wrong. And my role is really to help those folks who are already in place make those preparations after doing that brainstorming to try to keep every child, every student in Putnam County as safe as possible.
Okay, with that being said, what is your day-to-day? What is it going to look like moving forward on a daily basis? How are you making that happen?
My day-to-day is going to be building a lot of relationships with people, finding out. So far in the meetings I've had, my statement to everyone has been, when they think of my name, I want them to think, how can I help? Because whatever it may be, I want them to pick up the phone, call me, and ask me how I can help them make whatever they need to happen for us on the safety aspect of things happen seamlessly. And so that's my goal, is to be that conduit or that avenue that when somebody hits a dead end, they're not sure how they can make this safer. They pick up the phone, call me, we figure out a way to make it happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. And as a parent, having what feels like a lifetime of having your kids in school at multiple ages, multiple schools, when the fact that you want them to be safe, and you will watch a major city like Nashville or Chattanooga or Knoxville, and you'll see on the news, this happened at this school, this happened at that school, and you just think, oh my goodness, how safe are we being, right? And I love that we have a person in place with your whole focus is to make sure that safety is in place to the maximum effort. For our listening and viewing audience, be sure to keep Derrick's name in your mind. He's going to be the guy you want to reach out to. If you are in a role that would overlap in some way, you'll want to already have his contact information in your phone. He'll want to have yours. So
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind as, I know you're wanting to build out those points of important connection.
Absolutely.
And I know Brandon has already helped you with a lot of that, even being day one. But for anyone in the community that thinks that would be a valid point of contact, you want to do that now. You don't want to do that after you need someone. Go ahead and introduce yourself and make that available. So Derrick, I know that networking piece of meeting people and shaking hands and having conversations of how you can assist is very, very important.
So important. It is the most important.
Well, your attitude, let me tell you, you've joined the right team, because the attitude of emergency management, it was maybe my first week on the job working under the county. I'm new to county government. We were formerly under the Chamber of Commerce, and we moved to be under the county when we took over the convention center. And we had a meeting to just kind of like, hey, meet the department heads, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And Brandon looked at me and he said, listen, if you need anything emergency related or otherwise, reach out to me anytime. Well, that's a pretty normal thing for a colleague to say. And so I took it literally with a grain of salt, thinking, oh, that was very appropriate. That was an appropriate thing to say. I didn't take it as like a straightforward fact. And then We had the convention center. We were getting ready to get it all set up. We were really behind the deadline of opening the facility because we had so many things. You know, the weather was inhibiting us, and we didn't have pavement, so we had mud. We had 500 chairs that were wrapped from top to bottom in tape and cellophane. And I was like, oh my gosh, each chair was taking like 20 minutes. I mean, I was like, times 500 chairs, times 3 people on my team. We're never going to get these chairs unwrapped. So, Derrick, I know this doesn't sound like disaster preparedness, but we were in the depths of disaster in tourism.
It felt like it that day, didn't it?
It did. It really did, Brandon. And I didn't even ask for your help. You came in and said, is there anything we can do? I said, no, not unless you're an expert in unwrapping chairs. And you said, I'll send my team right over. And the next thing we know, you sent over your staff to help us unwrap 500 chairs. And all at once, chairs were just being unwrapped like magic. And box cutters were coming out and cellophane was flying. It was fantastic. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm working with a group of people that say what they mean and mean what they say.
We're blessed with that here.
And Derrick, I can tell, you know, when you say that you care about the safety and education of our students, I know that's true because Brandon has an excellent judge of character because everyone on his team feels as passionately about their job and taking it very seriously. So you've come to the right place. You're among your people.
It's all about helping people. And working in public safety in the Upper Cumberland for the last 17 years, I've had the pleasure of working alongside, training alongside Brandon and the EMA staff here in Putnam County quite a bit. So I knew the exact kind of organization that I was joining.
So let's talk about your background. So you say you've been in this vein of work for 17 years. Where do you come from?
I come from Jackson County. I've worked there for the last 17 years for Jackson County 911 EMS and EMA all. I've wore a lot of hats in that small county, mostly on the training side of things and overseeing that, and then working on ambulance as a critical care paramedic.
Well, we appreciate that you've chosen to come here, and we feel like we're in good hands.
I'm blessed to be here.
And, you know, you weren't here for this, Derrick, but Brandon, you were. I want to talk about emergency management's role recently, and for our listening and viewing audience, you guys had to have either seen it, known someone who was affected by it, or saw it on the news. There was a multiple car pileup on I-40 recently that I had never seen anything in our region like it. We had a snowstorm that turned to an ice storm, and so many tractor trailers involved. And, you know, when you have that on an interstate, when there's one tractor trailer involved, you're petrified. But when there's multiples, you're really, really afraid. And there were not only people, you know, thank heavens that there were not as many injuries as one would have thought from that terrible accident.
Could have been worse.
But you had these people that were stranded, and it was like 27 degrees outside. So talk about, at that point, you guys really jumped into play very quickly. And what did that day look like for you?
Yeah, so to your point of the team that we have, I was out of town. I played no part in that whole response other than our preparedness and our plans ahead of time. And we talk about all those things. But we have just a fantastic group of people that love Putnam County, love the Upper Cumberland, and love humans. So that day, the interstate shut down. We heard that the closure was happening. Initially, the rescue squad, which falls under the EMA umbrella also, the rescue squad was responding to the call, and the Cookeville Fire Department got what they needed under control, and they said, hey, we don't need the rescue squad anymore. We think we're good. Philip Bynum on our team went down there. Tyler was here in the office as well, and they started looking at it and figured out, okay, these folks are stranded here. Some of them are waiting 2 and 3 hours for their ride to get here or longer.
Well, and let's talk about that because people are like, well, why were they stranded so long?
Yeah.
But if you have a visitor coming through, like you don't live here, and they were waiting for friends and family who lived far away to come and rescue them, basically.
Some of them from out of state.
Yes.
We're coming
so
to get them.
these were what we call visitors, people that live 50 miles or more, you know, from here. There were visitors that were stranded on the interstate that were just driving through, had an accident, and now they have nowhere to go.
Yep. And it's not that uncommon that we deal with that and we help those folks. But in this circumstance, the temperatures outside, they were standing outside in the snow or the sleet, whatever conditions they were in. And once they got their information to and from the state trooper who was working the crash, then they were free to go, but they had nowhere to go. In order to open the interstate back up, in order to get them into a warm and safe environment, our rescue squad chief, David Anderson, actually got the ambubus. It's a bus that transports multiple patients. He got the bus, took it out to the scene. They loaded those folks up. Of course, the convention center is part of our emergency response plan anyway. Again, go back to the tornado in 2020, and that was one of Mayor Porter's big visions, was that we have a space that's multi-use, and so it can be used to help people in an emergency on top of its day-to-day use. So that space is planned to be a shelter, whether it's temporary, long-term, whatever that may be. The same with the Expo Center, and that was Philip's first thought was, hey, we're right here at the convention center. Because of the relationships that we built among our departments, I think he called you,
Yes.
Tessa and Benton. He called all of you and worked out the details and got all that. And it was just, again, kind of like unwrapping the chairs. Hey, Shan, can we come your way? Yep, the answer is yes. What's the question? We're ready. Bring it on.
Well, and I was in the same boat as you. You were off-site. You were not there to manage your well-run team. I was actually filming this very podcast, while all of this was happening. I didn't find out until the accident had happened while we were filming. And so I got the message after my team had already responded, answered, and had an action in place. So I'm showing up late to the party. And that's why having a very competent and very trained staff is so very important, that they understand their role, they understand what they can and cannot do, and they can take action when necessary. Because I was here filming and then walk out the doors and go, oh my goodness, what is happening? And so
47 missed calls. And, yeah.
Yes. And so it was so beautiful to see at the convention center, not only were, let's talk about, that is it the ambubus? Like what
ambubus,
Yes,
yeah.
The ambubus.
Some people call it the ambus, some the ambubus.
So that was something that you have not used a ton of times, right? Like there's certain circumstances where you need it. And to see the people coming off that bus, and they have luggage, right? All their belongings from their vehicle, and they're coming off, and their family was, sitting at the convention center in the warm, waiting for them to show up, and just they were hugging. I mean, it was very, very moving.
Yeah.
It made me say, oh my goodness, I'm so proud that our mayor and commissioners had the foresight to see this need and to be able to use our entertainment facility for that disaster plan. And I had not even thought about accidents before. I was thinking, natural disasters and, tornadoes and storms and that sort of thing, and losing power. And so the fact that this was a wonderful place of safety and warmth for these people that would have been standing out in the cold for dangerous amounts of time.
Sure.
So it is a beautiful feeling to say how seamlessly our county and our city government all work together. Everyone works together and plays a part. And I wanted our listening audience and our viewing audience today to be able to see behind the curtain a little bit and know what you guys are contributing behind the scenes, because I feel as a Putnam County resident, it makes you feel good to know that there is a whole team of people where their only job is to keep you safe. And that just helps me sleep at night. Except that now I'm part of the emergency operations team. And
now we're calling you.
And now I'm not going to sleep during a storm.
You won't know what sleep is now.
But you guys can. Everyone listening to this interview.
That's right. She got drafted.
Voluntold like you, Derrick.
That's right.
It's just the way things work.
Seems like you're as willing as I was. So
it's an honor. It's an honor.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what the honor was. Our most recent storm was my very first. That was my rookie dipping my toe in the water. Like I was trying to figure out, first off, all the acronyms in emergency management.
We love our acronyms.
No joke. I was like, okay, here's 3 more letters that I don't know what they mean. And but just watching play by play by play all the way from people that are creating the messaging behind the scenes to be able to put in the news and put on social to get the word out to the public quickly, you know, and the fact that there's a process where that is happening, but also then the verbal acknowledgments, and then people that are just not sleeping, they're staying up around the clock until the disaster is declared safe again. And I just think it's beautiful. You just don't know. I appreciate you. Derrick, I already appreciate you day one. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And I know that you at home appreciate emergency management, and they're working on the sunny days, on the stormy days, and more importantly, they're there when you need them most. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you what you continue to do. And just know that I'm still waiting for the call to return the favor for you to call me when you have something that you need unwrapped. Or
We're not shy. We're pretty big fans of your team as well, though. That's mutual.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's just been a lovely day.
Thank you for having us.
You're listening to Today in Putnam County, and until we see you next week, enjoy the journey.
This has been Today in Putnam County with Shan Stout.